What's up, guys? Today I want to talk about my favorite smartphones for $500 and under, starting with the Galaxy S20 FE 5G. You can pick all these phones up in the link down below. And I really like this phone. It has an aluminum frame and a plastic back, so it's not like a super premium design, but it does still feel really good in the hand. It's got like that, like I said, that matte finish. So overall, I think the design is pretty solid on here. It's actually IP68 dust and water resistant. You do have a really nice Super AMOLED 120 Hertz HDR10 display. It looks absolutely beautiful with the punch hole in the middle. It is a 6.5 inch 1080p 407 for the PPI panel, and overall the panel is really nice, so I have zero complaints about the panel. Now this phone does have Android 11, of course, with the Snapdragon 865 and Adreno 650, basically still a flagship chipset, so it's going to be very fast. Performance wise, I had really zero issues with this phone. It goes through One UI like a breeze, and you're also able to play all of the latest games on high settings still, so that is also really nice. You also have micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage and 6 gigs of RAM on here. You do have some really nice sounding stereo speakers as well, and this phone does not have a headphone jack, so do note that. You also have NFC on board, and you also have your fingerprint scanner under the display, which works very fast. You do have the option for face unlock as well, and pretty much the highlight with this phone is the camera. So you do have excellent flagship quality cameras on here, a 12 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K with a 32 megapixel selfie that also shoots in 4K, and you're getting some really nice photos, great color, great dynamic range. You're getting good depth of field. Just overall low light performance is pretty solid on here. This is overall a great camera. Video is pretty solid too. The selfie cam is great, so this is overall just an excellent pick. And you also have pretty good battery life on this phone, a 4,500 milliamp battery with 25-watt fast charging, along with fast wireless charging as well, and then you have reverse wireless charging on this phone too. So just an overall solid phone. All right, next is the LG V60. You can find this well under 500 bucks, and this phone is built like a tank. You have a premium design, aluminum frame, glass back, is IP68 dust and water resistant. You also have a massive P OLED display at 6.8 inches. It's HDR10 plus. It is 1080p 395 for the PPI. Overall, just a beautiful panel on here. You also have Android 11 out the box, which is very fast, and you also have the Snapdragon 865 and Adreno 650. So basically, this phone is still, like I said, it's a gaming smartphone. It's a power user phone, so you're going to be multitasking. You can attach your dual screen case to this phone as well, so it's a very powerful phone. So you do have micro SD support, 128 gigs of internal storage, and you also have 8 gigs of RAM on here. This is still one of my favorite phones for audio. So you do have a headphone jack with a quad DAC, and you also have some really nice sounding stereo speakers, very full with bass and just really loud. Mids and highs sound great. Overall, just an excellent performer when it comes to the audio department. You also have NFC on board with your fingerprint scanner under the display, and this phone has pretty good cameras, a 64 megapixel standard, 13 megapixel ultra wide, then a 0.3 depth sensor. It shoots in 8K, and you also have a 10 megapixel selfie cam that shoots in 4K. Overall image quality is pretty good on here. You get very good natural colors, very good detail, performs pretty decent in low light, and you get some super sharp video resolution on here as well. And this phone also has excellent battery life at 5,000 milliamps. It is just a beast. It can definitely last any like normal user or light user at least 2 days. You also have wireless charging as well, so overall the V60 is still a beast. Next is the Samsung Galaxy A52 5G, or you can get the 4G model if you can find it. It's just slight spec differences there, but we're going to talk about the 5G because that's the one that's widely available. You do have a plastic design on here, but to me, guys, this is a solid plastic build. It feels super premium. It's got like a matte finish on here, and I really like it. You also have an IP67 dust and water resistant rating on here. You do have a Super AMOLED 120 Hz, only 4G, it'll be 90 Hz. You also have a 6.5 inch display at 1080p 407 for the PPI. So overall, just a really nice looking panel color wise, and you get the high refresh rate. You also get micro SD support, 128 gigs of storage and 6 gigs of RAM. This phone also comes with the headphone jack and does retain stereo speakers as well. You do have a fingerprint scanner under the display, which works fine. You also have face unlock. Out of the box, you'll be getting Android 11 with the Snapdragon 750G on the 5G model, Adreno 619, and performance wise on the 4G model, it is still does a really good job performance wise, even though it's got a weaker chip. But on the 5G, you'll even get better performance on here too. So gaming and just multitasking, just doing your regular stuff on your phone is going to be perfectly fine. This phone also has excellent camera setup, a 64 megapixel standard, 12 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro and depth sensor with 4K video, and then a 32 megapixel selfie cam with 4K video as well. Overall, just an excellent performer when it comes to image quality. I was super impressed with it. You do have on here just great colors, good dynamic range, and you have that classic Samsung sort of oversaturation with the image processing, but overall, I just really enjoyed the cameras on here. I thought it performed pretty good in low light as well. So you do have a 4,500 milliamp battery on the 5G model, 25 watt charging on here. No wireless charging though. Next, I want to talk about the OnePlus 7T Pro, or you can get the standard 7 Pro if you want to save a little bit of money. Basically the same phone. You just have a Snapdragon 855 Plus chip instead of the standard 855. So on here you have a premium design aluminum frame on here, glass back. No official IP rating, but you can get this phone wet. So you do have on here a Fluid AMOLED 90Hz display, HDR10 Plus. The unique thing about the 7 Pro is that you do not have a punch hole. There's no type of notch. It's just a full screen design with the pop-up camera. Just an overall beautiful panel at 1440p resolution. It is a big phone, like I said, at that 6.67 inches, 516 for the PPI. Overall, extremely sharp, beautiful panel. It does have a slight curve to it, but overall you get used to it pretty fast. You also have Android 11 on here that runs Oxygen OS. It's a very smooth operating system, or smooth skin. Has a good blend of customization and also just keeping things simple. No SD card support, unfortunately. You do have 256 gigs of internal storage on the base model and 8 gigs of RAM, which is really nice. So you do have stereo speakers, which sound really great. No headphone jack on this phone. NFC is on board. The fingerprint scanner is under the display, works extremely fast. You also have on here pretty decent cameras, a triple camera setup, 48 megapixel standard, 8 megapixel telephoto with a 16 megapixel ultra wide. It shoots in 4K, and then you have a pop-up selfie cam at 16 megapixels, shoots in 1080p. Basically the thing with the 7 Pro's cameras that if you go between the stock app and Gcam, you'll get better results. Sometimes you might have to edit photos a little bit, but overall it's gonna be, solid for this price point. Like I said, is it gonna be the best camera on this list? No, but it is going to be a solid performer. So you do have a 4,085 milliamp battery with 30 watt charging on here. Battery life for me has been excellent with this phone. This is definitely an all-day phone. I do not have any complaints with battery life. The ROG Phone 3 is a phone you can pick up for around the $500 price point, so I think it makes it like technically the most expensive phone on this list, but I think it's definitely worth it. This phone is an awesome phone if you're a gamer. So you do have a premium design on here, aluminum frame on here, glass back. You have the RGB light panel on here that lights up. It's really nice. You do have on here an AMOLED display at 144 hertz. This was my first phone that I used with 144 hertz. Absolutely amazing how smooth it is. It really is extremely smooth. The fastest phone I personally ever felt like I've used. You do have HDR10 Plus with a 6.6 inch display, 1080p, 390, 140 PPI. Overall, a very nice looking panel. There's no notch because you actually have front facing stereo speakers, which are extremely loud, has ton of bass, some of the most amazing speakers I personally heard on any phone. You also have Android 11 with the Rogue UI, which basically stock Android. You do have the Snapdragon 865 with the Adreno 650. Again, this is going to be a gaming phone. You do have a lot of little gaming features in the software, and you also have those air triggers on here as well, so you can take advantage of those. It's basically like fake, shoulder buttons. You also have no SD card support, which always kind of I feel like gaming phones need the SD card support for storage, but you'd have 128 gigs on the base model, 8 gigs of RAM. You also have no headphone jack on this phone. NFC is on board. The fingerprint scanner under the display is on board. Now you do have a pretty decent camera setup. Now it might be the most underwhelming camera on this list. I'm not going to say bad, but definitely underwhelming. But if you're a gamer, 9 times out of 10, you don't care. You do have a 64 megapixel standard, 13 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro, 8K video, 24 megapixel selfie. Like I said, from the shots, not terrible. If you're in good lighting, you get a good photo. Not terrible by any means, but definitely not going to be the best on this list. You do have a 6,000 milliamp battery, and that's where this phone shines. Best battery life on this list. So it lasts. If you're a light user, this phone can easily, you can go like at least 2-3 days of battery life on this phone. If you're a light user, if you're gaming, then obviously you won't. But yeah, the battery life is absolutely crazy on this phone. 30-watt charging on here, reverse charging on here. It is just a beast. So thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.